to the Authentic as Fuck podcast. My name is San. I'm a marketer and I teach storytelling. So today, first we have Karen. Hey, Karen.
Hey, San. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Let's start with kind of where you're from and then what you do for work, and then we'll go into your question.
Great. Thank you. I am based in Toronto, Canada, and I am a coach. I care deeply about the people who are making a difference and positive change through the performing arts. And so I coach conductors, musicians, singers, and arts administrators through personal and professional barriers so that they can energize their work and uplift others through musical experiences.
Awesome. And what's your question?
My question is, so I kind of fell into this niche. 2023 is going to be my 4th year of coaching and being self-employed. In 2022, I started working in the performing arts again. And so now, after doing a year, I really want to zone in and focus with some more intention and strategy around the messaging. So my question is, what is the story that I share to connect my experience with this performing arts sector?
So let's back up to 4 years ago. What's your background before that?
So my background before that is in marketing communications in the performing arts. So I've worked in the symphony, I've worked with classical music radio, and then I spent 7 years as an operations director for a creative studio doing 3D architectural drawings. And so, and that was mainly focused in operations. So in that studio, I was really people focused. So this is kind of where that gap is. It was a 7-year period where I was out of the performing arts, but I was still working with artists, just with visual artists. And now that I'm coming back into the performing arts, it's kind of like my career's taking a full circle. So 4 years ago, the organization that I was part of was doing some structural changes. And so it was an opportunity for me to leave because I was also at a point where I was like, okay, I need to move on to my next thing. And so I went into coaching because it was actually coaching that helped me find that clarity and to figure out when kind of had that confidence to choose a new path and to try something different.
I never actually was a performing artist professionally. I just did it for fun. So I had very foundational training and I understand the world that they come from because of the training. And I also understand the world that they're in because I worked in that world. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's why I keep thinking to bring in all these parts of my background and experience, but at the same time, I don't want to muddle the message, right? So that's why
so
it's hard for me to pull it out.
Because I understand, and we'll get there. I think you got your side of the story down. The problem is, how does that relate to the client? Like, okay, great story. How's that going to help me, right?
Yeah.
I know. So what I'm trying to figure out is what makes you different. So are you doing coaching on like musical training, or are you doing coaching more like career coaching and stuff like that?
It's more about it's part of career coaching because it feeds into it, but it's like the person behind the performer. That's who I coach. I don't coach the technical part.
Is it? So, but what is it? Is it like a life coaching or?
Yeah, like life coaching.
Okay. So why should they hire you versus them, versus any other life coach? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right. And I think they should hire me because I understand their training. I understand the world that they're in, and I understand the challenges that they're facing.
So let's tie it.
Okay.
So let's tie it. What I'm trying to figure out is this. Or if I look at all of my clients that I work with, they all have similar things that they struggle with. I mean, they all struggle with different stuff, but there's an underlying maybe same thing that they struggle with, or they all struggle with. It's something that commonly these type of people, performers or whatever, struggle with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, number one, figure that out. And number two, what's one specific instance of that happening?
Okay.
For example, okay.
Give me your
Give me an
example.
example. Huh?
Give me your example.
My example would be like, let's see. A simple one would be, everybody thinks that like, their budget is, let's say, $50,000 or something like that. They're going to spend $50,000 on the website. But what they don't realize is most websites, once you launch it, shortly afterwards, there's going to be a phase 2. Because once you launch a website, there's some tweaks that needs to be made. And then some sort of a phase 2 has to happen. And they don't account for the budget for that. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, what I have to do is I have to give a specific example of like, oh yeah, we did all of this and we launched it. But once we launched it and they started doing the membership, what they realize is that nobody wants to join this membership because they all wanted to stay in Facebook. So on the second iteration, we had to figure out how to integrate with Facebook so we can keep the community on Facebook. But we would have never known that until we launched it and we started using it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean? Or so if I give like a specific example, then that client might be like, oh shit, I think I'm dealing with that too. Or something like that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So
what's the thing that let's start from there. What's the thing that performers struggle with the most?
two things are coming to mind. One is resilience, because it's a really hard field to be in. You have to perform perfectly. Their performance schedules and rehearsals are really busy and demanding. And then there's also practice time is really demanding. And then now with this new world, they also have to be presenting themselves like they have to create personal brands too, right? So resilience in terms of having the energy to do all these things and to do them very well is one thing. And then kind of the other side of it is how is the confidence to do it in a way that is authentic. So I call myself an authenticity coach because I help them, like the people that I work with have reached a certain level of technical excellence where they are, they are booking gigs, they're working on main stages, they have built a name for themselves, they have accolades, but they're at this point where they're like, okay, well, how do I get my career, my life to the next level? And that is really about kind of how you help through Night Owl Nation, is bringing in that unique storytelling part. Like so your technique, your excellence is the same as everyone else's, right? Like, yeah, you go to Juilliard, yeah, you go to Manhattan
So
School of Music, you have the same.
Give me an example of, I have an example. As soon as you said that, I have an example that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
For me. But you have to give me your example.
Okay. So my example would be, you have two conductors who have gone through their schooling. They have bachelor's, master's, even doctorates of music. They have a healthy list of who they have worked with in terms of orchestras. They have reached a level of the way they communicate musically that they're starting to have a reputation, and people programmers are starting to trust them. They're getting hired by agents. Like, they've gotten to a point where they've got street cred, right? Because of their excellence. And now they want to actually start communicating their musical ideas and what they see the future of classical music actually looking like, because that's actually what takes you from a guest conductor to a musical director, someone who actually has a say in leading an organization and actually making more change because there's more eyes on them, right? So see, my fear whenever I'm giving an example, my fear is always like, am I getting too specific or am I still too vague?
No.
Like as I'm talking, the thought
You're
is
too vague
happening
right
in
now.
my head. Okay. Because you give very specific examples.
Here's the
I'm
thing:
just a vague person.
underlying skeleton of the stories are always
Yeah.
simple, right? And I
Yeah.
always say, this is what people do, right? When I tell people to write their story in 3 sentences before what happened, before the old you, until this happened, and then this is what I learned, right?
Right.
And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but that's too simple, right?
Yeah.
But
Can I tell you one of the challenges as a coach is that there is this confidentiality that I'm trying to uphold for my clients. And if I speak their story too specifically, am I, what's the word? Am I, am I
you can
doing
do
them
it
a dirty?
anonymously, no?
Anonymously, but the stories are so specific that how could they remain anonymous, right? And I guess because I'm at this point in my career where I haven't worked with that many people, like if you were to tell a story about so you talk about your top 3 clients, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, and Gabby Bernstein. If you were to tell a very specific story about how you helped one of them, we might be able to figure out who it was, right? I guess that's
No,
kind of my
because
fear.
I can say this. I can say I had a client who wanted to start a membership.
Oh, okay.
We she wanted, even if I do say she, like, and she wanted to invest up to $60,000 to build out this membership portal. And then I told her that a year ago we did that same exact project for this other famous person, and we launched it for 6 months and it died because everybody still wanted to use Facebook. So I told her to save her $60,000 and use Facebook.
Right.
You see how specific that was?
Yeah, that is really specific.
And what I say is, I just saved you $60,000 in 6 months. That's what you're paying me for.
Okay. So can I try?
Yeah.
Can I try?
Yeah.
So I have this one client who thought that she needed to be more resilient. She was feeling really tired from all of the traveling, from the rehearsals, from studying music. And she just felt like maybe the work wasn't cut out for her anymore because she was so far away from home. Because of the nature of the work, she has to fly to different places. She
couldn't handle the pressure
every week. She felt like she couldn't handle the pressure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that the reason why she came to you?
Yes.
What's the number one reason why people come to you for?
It's confidence and the resilience. Those two things are tied together. They don't feel like they can get through the pressure, but
they're not
also,
confident enough to get through the pressure.
Yeah. And so where was I? She thought that she needed to rest more. Maybe she wasn't cut out for this work, or maybe it's not the lifestyle she wanted to live. And through our work together, she realized that the pressure actually wasn't of managing the work. The pressure was she was holding down parts of herself. And so, for example,
now give me an example of that.
Yeah. Okay. So for example, she's like a very fiery personality who really wants when she meets
somebody, wasn't letting her personality in her work.
She wants to really get to know people on a one-to-one basis. She's
do you think it's because in that role, are people expected to act a certain way?
Yeah. In that role, absolutely. People are expected to kind of be a little bit cold, a little bit far, right? Like if you imagine a conductor, conductor on the podium.
There's an archetype there.
Yeah, with 60. But it's an old archetype and it's not actually serving
but it's not true, is what you're saying.
It's not true. Yeah.
It's like this. It's like I can say this, right? There's an archetype for politicians, right? How a politician talks, blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump just broke through every single one of those things. Right? He just broke through every archetype. He didn't talk like politicians, blah, 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 but that didn't mean it didn't work, right?
True.
So a lot of times that's what happens. We just say, "Oh, we're like that," just because we're expected to behave like that, because that's how it's always been. Like, son, you have to do funnel. Son, you have to do sales page. You have to do account plan. You have to do this. No, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I can do it my way.
I actually really love that song, because one of the biggest challenges in performing arts is that they kind of default to, well, that's how we've always done it. And that's on all three levels, when it's like the performers on stage to the people.
So here's what I want you to do.
Okay.
Because we're running out of time. And a lot of it is my fault because of the technical. So you need to figure out a specific story of a client who's struggling with that. They feel the pressure, not confident, all the imposter syndrome, all of that, right? That came to you. And then what you saw that they were doing, right? And then now go back in history to when you were learning whatever, singing, or when you were working in the performing arts, industry, like looking at other people, the common thing that you saw, right? And that common thing might be like what you said, like, oh, we just like always go to the status quo, right? This is how we do it because it's always been done that way, or this is how I'm supposed to act as a conductor. This is how I'm supposed to act as a pianist, or whatever it is, right? As a classical pianist, I have to be like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So try to come up with very specific example of something that happened with your client and something you saw back then and working in either working in performing arts or you doing it yourself. Maybe you felt that imposter syndrome. Maybe you felt that pressure, that confidence thing all yourself also.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you tie that, then that becomes the selling point, right? Like, oh, hey, like I have one client who was like, wow. Then people are going to be like, holy shit, that's exactly what I'm going through. And then you can say, and I knew how to help her because back in my days, I've also felt that way, or I've seen these other people who are also doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm the best life coach. Like you can go to other life coaches who work with,
mm-hmm.
Business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand performers and I understand their barriers and blah, blah, blah. That's going to be the skeleton of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But how specific you make it is actually going to be the juicy part, because the more specific you make it, the more they're going to be like, holy shit, right? So here, I'll give you an example. Most Asian women are they're conformist. So they try not to break the rule. Okay.
Yeah.
They're like, my sister is a goody two-shoe, right? My sister went to Juilliard. She's a pianist.
Cool.
She studied piano. So this is what my sister was telling me, that 50% of the piano department in Juilliard are Asian women. They all look exactly the same. They talk exactly the same. They dress the same. Like, all the conformist Asian, like none of them stand out. And she said, when you're at that level, we're all practicing 10, 11, 12 hours a day. It's a game of edges. There's no person who's really vastly better than anyone. Everybody's neck and neck. Everybody at that level, everybody's just neck and neck. You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's about who's gonna, just like in pop music, it's about who's gonna get the opportunity, and the one that stands out is gonna get the opportunity. That's why you see that. I don't know pianist names, but that's why you see that guy, the white guy with the long blonde hair who plays piano like that. That's what people want to see, not just another Asian girl who's like, you know what I mean? But if you are going to be the Asian girl who's just like, be yourself. So that the Chinese pianist who dresses like, she has like a mohawk and she dresses like a punk rock.
Yeah, Yuja Wang.
Yeah. So she completely stands out, right? Like she's being herself. She's not conforming to the the typical Asian pianist role with the fancy long dress and that thing, right? So, that like in the music is entertainment, and at the end of the day, in the entertainment world, whoever is going to stand out is going to win. That's how it works in marketing, right?
Yeah.
And the way you do that is by not conforming and really bringing yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of like the ultimate message, right?
Yeah, those are exactly the people who I want to work with, because I think those are the people who are going to change the game.
Well, no, those people don't need you, though.
No, not those people who have already done it, but the people who want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to use those examples then.
Yeah.
You got to use those examples. And then the story is where that's the ending to the story. Right? This is what it could be like.
Right.
If you really bring yourself out, because of all the reason what I just told you, right?
Yeah.
Because every Asian pianist is like this. This pianist is like that, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how you relate to them is by bringing your story with your client story. It's like, I know the reason why you can't get there is because you're doing this.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what this exactly is. That's for you to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like
the confidence, the whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then once you have that line, write it down. Maybe post it in the assignments or something. And then keep working on it. Keep telling the story over. Keep shortening it, simplify it. Like really capture the right parts, right? Every time you tell it, pay attention. Which parts are they really? And then just grab it. Every time you talk to a potential client, you're telling that story.
Okay.
And it's just going to get polished over time.
That's really helpful. So can I repeat back to you what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm. Let's see if you got it.
Pardon me?
Let's see if you got it.
Yeah, let's see if I got it. Okay, so there's these three parts. The first part is kind of describing their past self and how they got to where they are. That's like the edge, the 10, 11 hours, everyone's at the same level, what actually sets you apart. And then the second part is showing what's possible when you do stand out, like Yuja Wang or Yannick Nazis, again, like actually using those examples, those actual performers who are out there that they're looking up to, right? And say, this is what's possible because they had to stand out, whether in the way they dress, the way they communicate, and what they perform. And then the third part is, me kind of introducing, well, here is why you're not there yet, but you want to get there. And it's like, this is where you're at.
No, let's flip that. So let's do it like this. Let's do a myth, example, and truth.
Okay.
Here's the myth, right? I have so many clients, like I'm structuring the story for you now. You have to fill in the blanks. Like I have clients that come to me all the time and they're always saying that I don't know if I can do this. It's like too much pressure, too much a little bit more specific than what I'm doing, but that's how you start the story, right? And then you say, I have actually struggled with the same thing when I was younger, or I've seen a lot of other people when I worked in the performing industry, like kind of go through that. And me working with a life coach and things like that, what I've learned to realize is that whatever the solution is, right?
Okay.
And then you go into, for example, the reason
that
why
wasn't the example. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, the example is that. But for example, the first part was an example of the problem, the myth that you believe in. Oh, I have to be hardworking. I have to be, I have to, conform to this, and I have to do this. I have to do it like this in order for me to be like this person. It's kind of like the same thing I would say about like how YouTubers, like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. I have to show up and I have to do the intro, like, hey, everybody, like, my name is Sun. I have to do that whole thing just like everyone else does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, like, I have to do that thing that everyone else. That's kind of like the same. Like, I have to be in the good old boys club, right? That's the thing. And that pressure is what's getting to them, right? Like, but that's a myth. You actually don't have to be like that. And here's an example. When, and then what I would do is so now I'm giving you my story, but now you have to replace that with your story. So the first part was, my clients are doing this, so they're stuck in this place over and over and over and over. And it's not serving them because it's a myth. The fact that you have to conform to that is a myth, right? The truth is, now you fill in your story, but this would be my version of the story. The truth is, my sister went to Juilliard, and she said that Asian female pianists are dime a dozen. They all look the same, blah, 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 blah. And the one that stands out is going to be this like tall, long hair, blonde, white guy who's going to be waving his hair around when he's playing, or like the example that you gave, right? Like those are the people that are going to stand out, because at the end of the day, talent-wise, you guys are all neck and neck. For you to really stand out, you can't do it with talent. Do you understand what I mean? So that is an example, right, of how actually you have to go against the conformity. Like by following the conformity, what you're gonna do is, even if you do everything perfect, which you're not, the most perfect you're gonna get to is mediocrity. But if you want to break through that to the stardom like these people, you actually have to break all of that and do it completely different way, like they did it, right? So that's an example. And then finally, the truth is that, you don't have to follow the conformity. And then you can go into your method of what you do. Like now, the final part is your solution.
Right. Okay. So it's like myth, story, example, story, truth is a solution. It's a liner. It's like a lesson, right? Okay.
In your
Thank
story,
you.
in the first part, I do want you to talk about the part where you say, I do want you to talk about like how you were in that world of performing artists before, so you understand how they think, how they are, that you understand the world. And I also want you to add the part about when you work with the coach, and how when you work with the coach, and how that first experience went, where you're like, oh, this is so fun. That part of the story definitely needs to be there. The first part, when you said, when you coached the woman about the vocal thing, and then you helped her, you're like, oh, because at the end of the day, that's showing your passion for the thing. So that actually needs to really be in there too.
Okay. Thank you.
I think, I think, where you are right now is, I think you're just gonna have to write all of this down. If you try to like figure out the story before you write it down, it's not gonna work. You have to write it down.
Yeah.
Writing is rewriting. So rewrite, and it'll get every rewrite you do, it'll get clearer and clearer and clearer.
And this process of having to say it out loud actually really helps me have something to write down.
Yeah.
Because that's the hard part of writing down.
Writing or saying it.
Yeah.
They're both similar, in my opinion. And that's the whole point of the small groups. Because like you said, when you say it out loud, it helps you clarify it. Yeah,
100%.
So write it down, put it in the assignments, and then we'll keep working through it.
Okay. Thank you, Sun.
Thanks, Karen. It took a while, but I think we got somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next we have Samuel. Samuel, welcome. Welcome.
Hey, San.
So yeah, let's do the same. Let's start with your intro, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So I started off in psychology. I started off as a therapist. And that was like my passion. I just very deep introspective person. So psychology was my thing. And I liked helping people. So I was like, I'm going to become a therapist. And so I went to grad school, got my master's. And Yeah, I went to like a very alternative school, like Eastern spirituality, Western psychology. So it was very deep process for me and deep process of healing. And then I started working as a therapist, but I was also meditating, doing all this other stuff. And so the therapist suit, if you will, like the role felt a little too constraining for me. So I love psychology. I love truth. I love people, understanding reality. So that was why I got into psychology, and I was helping people. But I felt like I didn't want to be a therapist. Like that was the thing that kept coming up for me. So I'd done all this other stuff, meditation, like some stuff around, like sexuality. I had very interesting experiences in my life about how to be authentic, how to be a human being, how to be authentic. And in the therapy role, I couldn't really express all of that. So I decided to leave in 2018 and become an entrepreneur and a coach, just because I felt like, I wasn't super attached to the coach role, but like coaching just seemed like something where I can invent myself, right? I can like do whatever the fuck I wanted, right? Essentially, like in my work, creating programs, teaching, whatever it was. So since then, it's been kind of an interesting journey of doing essentially what you do, or what you help people with, which is like, who am I, and how do I make who I am my business, right? How do I make who I am like my brand? And so since 2018, it's kind of been like I started off working with men because I was doing this men's
They're
work.
all entrepreneurs though?
No, it was like men's mental health, like life purpose.
Also, like what do I do? When you say what I do, meaning like in the job or something.
What say again? What I was doing?
When you say like who am I and how does it
Yeah.
relate to what I do?
Yeah.
You're just saying like even like a job or a career or something, like not necessarily like a business.
What do you mean?
Because you said that one of the things that you do is help them figure out who they are and how does it relate to what they do.
Oh no, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I worked. Basically, what I was doing was, maybe that is also what I do for people as well, actually. But no, I basically I was like I kind of still was like a therapist, but I was just left the like therapy world, which is very regulated, and just started being like a rogue therapist, I guess you could say, and doing my own thing with people. So I'm just telling you, like, I guess my niche.
I actually think that's what you should call yourself.
Rogue therapist.
Yeah.
But it's I guess that's true, because there's a lot of legal ramifications.
You're not a therapist.
Yeah, but there's a lot of legal ramifications if I continue to call myself a therapist and I say I'm not actually licensed anymore.
You should say, I think you should, in your marketing message, clearly say, I am not a therapist.
Oh, right. And my contract too, I say that. Yeah. This is not a replacement.
But I think you should brand yourself as a rogue therapist.
That's funny. Okay. I'll keep that in mind, because I have said that before. So I guess my I'll just say like the rest of my story, which is like I worked with men. I still work with men. Work with Asian men. I kind of had this like Asian men phase where I was like, I'm going to help Asian men, mental health, like stuff around their identity, and then even like how to be more authentic and confident, and then that led to dating, which was like, a lot of Asian men can use help with dating. So I started to do dating coaching, because for me, my whole thing was authenticity. So
it seems like that all kind of happened organically.
It did. Yeah. It happened very organically. Okay. Yeah. And so for the past year, I've kind of done some dating coaching, helping men like authentically date, like, because I have the therapy background. Also in my own life, I just learned how to date more naturally by being myself, and the sexual stuff I was telling you about, like I had like sexual awakenings and spiritual awakenings, and that like just helped me express myself. And so like it's more attractive. So that's what I tried to teach men, but it's a long road for a lot of men, like who it's a long road. But anyways, right now I'm at a crossroads where I'm not really sure what to continue to do. And
wait, so what's the other side?
What's the other what?
What do you mean continue to do? Because you're working with these men primarily, like, helping them with kind of dating and things like that. And then what's the other thing?
What do I want to do?
Because you said you don't know, you're not sure what you want to do. So you don't want to do this?
I might, I don't know if I want to continue to do one-on-one work. I might do group work. I've done some group work, but I might want to move like I know like okay, I don't want to say like I know my purpose, but I do think I know that I'm supposed to like be out there in a bigger way and like teach. And I have a message inside of me based on my life, which is
we'll get there. But
okay.
First, what I'm just talking about is talking to primarily Asian males.
Yeah.
Is that something you enjoy doing?
I found it challenging. Because of who I am. I didn't find that a lot of Asian men resonated with me because I'm so alternative, and I'm like.
But you said you were attracting them.
Yeah.
Organically, I'm trying to, because there's something interesting happens. I feel like the best way to go about it is to not think about, okay, who's my audience, who's my niche, and then just organically do the work that you're called to do.
Right. Yeah.
I guess I'm needed here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Right. I guess that calling is feeling less. I mean, I'm not sure. Like
here's the thing. The calling doesn't happen like. Well, let me preface this. So a lot of people that say they want to be a chef, like, oh, it's my passion, chef, being cooking, blah, blah, blah. There's many sides to that. But this is what I would say. If you don't like working in the back of a diner, flipping burgers, you don't like cooking. You don't like to be a chef.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
If your only idea of finding passion in chef is working at a 5-star restaurant doing this, that's passionate. But working in a food truck like flipping burgers is not passionate. That means cooking is not really your passion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, now I'm gonna say this: calling isn't like, oh, I need to invent this. I'm drawn to do this. No, it doesn't work like that. You cannot be called to do something that you don't have an opportunity to do.
Yeah.
What happens is, right now I have an opportunity to do this, and I'm called to do this, and I'm not really called to do this. Do you understand what I mean? And that's how it works. So that's why, like, when you don't think about it, and when opportunity presents itself, I was like, oh, these Asian men really need help, so I'm called to do it. Blah, 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 blah. So that's how organically things happen. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I hear you. Two things come to my mind. One is like I've always made my business more about me. Like I've still been able to attract people because of my message and who I am and like sharing my story. But like I've changed it a number of times because it's always like, what do I want? You know, like, what do I want? Oh, like I want to connect with Asian men because I'm reconnecting with my Asian roots. That was kind of why I started working with Asian men in the Asian community. And then like a lot of Asian men started coming to me and I was like, okay, cool. Like I can do this. But then it started to feel like, oh, what do I want next? And so it started to change. So like entrepreneurship has been like, in a sense, like a spiritual journey for me, because I'm just like, it's growthful and my identity is changing. But what I hear from you is like, okay, where am I needed and where can I be useful? And like maybe applying my energy there in a way, like
I think where you're going to be most useful is the thing you're going to be called to do the most.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're two of the same thing. Like I think if you feel like, oh, I feel like I have to do this.
Yeah.
It's most likely because this is where you're going to feel the most useful.
Yeah. Right. I think the direction then is because I've been working with Asian men for a while, and the thing that always stands out are Asian men who are very authentic, who want something deeper, right? They don't fit into the norm.
But I don't even right now. I'm not even talking about Asian or male or
okay.
Thing.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to you now. because like I think that if you really want to be a chef and cooking is your passion, then you have to love cooking every day, right?
Mm.
So I think passion is not like an industry or topic or niche, but it's more like the activities that you do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So what are the activities on a daily basis that you enjoy, that you feel the most fulfilled after
Yeah.
doing?
That's a good question. So, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, but like I keep thinking about doing a podcast, and so when you ask that
For me,
question,
is this what
Yeah.
I'm doing right now
yeah,
is probably top 2 most
yeah,
fulfilling activities.
no, I hear you.
of my
So like,
life.
yeah. No, so I have an idea for a podcast to connect with. I have a few friends that every time I talk with them, we talk about some deep. It goes so deep that you're not going to hear this from anywhere. Like read it in books or like see it on social media. But I'm not even. I just love that connection, that depth, and speaking my truth and hearing other people's truths. So, like for example, yesterday I met up with this guy, like a friend, potential friend. Making new friends as guys is always kind of weird, but like as an adult man, but like like we've gone on a couple like coffee, like we went to have a beer yesterday, and like we talked for like 2.5 hours about like dating, feminism, our own
I should introduce to Andrew Fung from Fung Bros.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah. I think so. He's YouTube, right?
He's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
He used to live in my old building when I was in New York.
Oh, really?
So I met him. Yeah.
He goes and like eats food
Because he
with
talks
like
a lot
celebrities.
about like Asian males and Asian
Yeah.
community and stuff
Yeah,
like
but
that.
this wasn't even an Asian guy. It was just like
Oh,
but,
of course. Okay.
yeah, but like I understand that. But I guess I'm just saying like talking, like I love that's probably maybe almost number one. And even if I'm a guest on a podcast,
What
I
about
love
like
it.
in terms of your work?
That's
within
been
your
feeling
work?
a little less alive. So like
But which part of it do you feel the most fulfilled? Like for me,
yeah.
a couple things. Like, I mean, this is work, but like also, I love doing like coaching calls. I just love helping people solve their problem. Like I love making people say, I never thought of it that way, right?
Right.
So, and that can happen even in like when I'm making content. Once I'm making content, I'm like, I got this thing. It's like, oh, this is gonna make them say, I never thought of it that way. Like that gets me excited, right?
Yeah.
So, on a day-to-day in work, what are the little tasks that gets you like?
In my work lately it's been dry, but I'll just say like the breakthrough moments, so it's like I think
It's during the coaching calls.
it's during coaching calls. When my client will have a breakthrough that's like how do I say this? When they shift out of this, I guess you can say societal way of thinking, or like the conditioning from, I'm a therapist, right? So like the family's messages and these beliefs about themselves, when they finally break out of that, like have a moment where they're like, oh, I can just be myself. I can live my life. Oh, like my heart wants this and I'm going to start doing it. Like they don't necessarily understand it, but I'm really good at facilitating that. Some people it takes longer. Some people it's really quick. But like facilitating that transition of like waking up out of, the fucking matrix, I guess, if you want to say it, like that's the moment I love. And how do I, the question for me is how do I get clients? Yeah.
How do you get what?
How do I get clients who also resonate with that? Because I'll share 2 examples. One, sometimes I get clients who've never done therapy, never done any sort of introspective, like inner work. And then they reach out to me and yet they pay me and it's the right client, but it just takes a long time. But then it may not even work out because I'm pushing them so hard to like do this work that it doesn't make sense to them. It takes time to change all these things. I've had another client who has done so much work on himself. He's like doing ayahuasca, and like he's just always, processing shit and super spiritual. And I'm trying to coach him on like getting more grounded, and like, because I could see what people need and identify it. But for him, I thought it'd be great and easy, but like he fired me. He fired me because I was pushing him to do something that didn't fit with his ideals of like being a man and like, I don't know if I need to go into the specifics, but he fired me because what I was trying to coach him and push him on felt like it made. I was basically telling him he needed to be more masculine and like sexual, and like if he wanted to get better with girls and dating, he had to like, like practice this and be more direct. And he was like, no, that feels like I'm being kind of misogynistic and like feminism this. And he fired me. And I was like, all right, dude, like I didn't know, and so like I'm kind of confused about like, and he's
so you think there are certain clients that you have that are that will have success, and there are certain other type of client that is not successful.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know
have you been
how
able to identify.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how to quite identify it because I have a client right now.
I mean,
yeah. Doesn't matter, right?
Here's what I see. First of all, if you lose steam for what you do, because no matter what you do at work, like I have so many people that are like, son, I'm gonna own my own agency one day, blah, 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 all excited, fired up, like, okay, give it 3 years. Like, let's say in 3 years, let's say if you still are that fired up, let's see it, right? Like that happens to everyone. Do you understand what I mean? The ones that can hold on, right? So the fact that that fire is dying out, there's no way you're going to be able to build a business, build a brand, scale a brand without fire, without the entrepreneur's fire, right? So if you don't feel that about the certain type of work, it's not going to happen. But I feel this is what I believe. Doesn't matter what you do. You can be a therapist, you can be a coach, you can be a designer, you can be a rocket scientist. Doesn't matter what you do. Given a certain enough time when the work doesn't become challenging anymore, that's going to happen to any work. You understand what I mean? It's going to get, at some point, the fire is going to die, right? Here's how you keep the fire alive, right? You focus I focus less on the thing that I do. For example, coaching or building this thing, or like I focus less on the thing that I do. I mean, meaning I don't try to use that to get my passion. What I try to do is get passion in the little things. Oh, let me see if I can finish this in the next 30 minutes. Oh fuck, I did it.
Yeah.
That gives me passion, right? Like things like that, right?
I hear you.
Right now, if I were you,
yeah.
I mean, you almost got me fired up because I'm like, oh, I need to figure this out. Okay, what is it? What is the thing that these guys are doing that these guys aren't doing? And if I can figure that out, I'm one step further to fixing this. And once I figure that out, okay, oh shit, okay, this is what happened. So how do I get these guys from here to here? Okay, that's next step. And that's exactly what I'm doing with Night Owl Nation. That's exactly why we just implemented onboarding team. That's exactly how we even started the small groups. Everything I'm doing, I'm just taking one step and be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, these people, okay. And I'm problem solving. So I just feel like if you really want to be passionate about work, you really need to be passionate about every aspect of it.
No, I hear you. Okay, well, that's a good point. Yeah. And so you're saying that you can create that. You can create.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, you have to.
Because I get bored of everything.
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Eventually, I get bored of it.
Right. That's essentially why I started. I've changed so much, but I liked what you said about finding those little micro like things. Okay, like let's see if I can actually finish this, or like how can I? There's just something about that energy that is something I've sort of lacked in entrepreneurship, like because I've just been like so woo woo, like
because people are very big thinkers.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs are like high level, big thinkers, big picture thinkers. They don't get down to the nitty gritty.
Right. It's the
Can I
chopping.
tell you?
Yeah.
I still remember to this day when I was 18 years old, I worked at Kumon. You know Kumon?
Yeah. Yeah. I did.
So
Come on.
I was paper grading, and it's because my Japanese teacher in high school hooked me up with that job, and they were paying me $6 an hour. But so they give me the answers, and then everybody all the kids come up and put there, and I have to go like match one by one, right, with the answers. And what I did was I just memorized all the answers, so I don't even need this. I can just go without looking at just so that I can do it faster.
Right.
So things like that, like
Yeah.
I had so much fun in that job.
No, I hear you, and I appreciate that because because it's growth, right? It's like that's why I do love entrepreneurship, and I do love it because it's challenging. It makes me grow. It's making me grow into more of myself. And so yeah, I mean, I think I feel that energy already coming, and I think it's about consistency too, right? Like just yes, enjoying it, but like why don't I just like if I'm going to start a podcast, I think you said this on one of the Sunday services, like, there's going to be days when you don't want to do it. So just like schedule it in or force it in there. Cause you probably will enjoy it. Like probably afterwards.
And those conversations that you're talking about with your friends, the reason why you enjoy them so much is probably because you're 100% present.
Yeah. And
you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not thinking about yesterday. You're 100% present in that conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not thinking even about business, right? So like, I wonder if one of the things that you've inspired me to do, Son, is to, because I think this is one direction I'm going to go, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, is to just start being more authentic, even though that was my whole thing. But like, just like being myself more in my business, but not making it so this is where I was wrong. Like, I think maybe a little wrong about it was that I made it about me. Like I wanted to be seen. I wanted validation. I wanted to see how people thought I was so cool, or like, but like, I'm starting to realize that a big part of business is just to, I can share my story, but like, it has to be about the other person. Right. Like, so like that shift for me is a hard one to make, but so I'm going to share my stories. I'm just going to like talk about what I love, what I feel inspired to do. And that's the podcast or my social media, because this is what you teach, kind of what you say. And just trusting that the steps are going to come. I'm going to take one step from something that comes from that. Right. And then another step from something that comes next, and just like kind of building it from the ground up like that. And yeah.
Let me give you a great example, the analogy that I think will help you. So when I work at Night Owl, I have some clients, because we've been, we are kind of well known, and we can pick and choose our clients. But even then, like 50% of the projects are the projects that I love, the success cases that are like, they let me try new things, they let me do, execute my ideas. But then these other 50%, I don't love these projects at all, because they want me to do things that I don't agree with. They want me to do, but
yeah,
I mean, regardless, they pay the bills, right? So what happens is, the selfish way of looking at it is like, I don't like doing this project. I love doing this project, right? But if you actually make it selfish, selfless way, how I talk about being selfishly selfless. If you think of it that way, then what's going to happen is, my goal is to make this person say to me, like, I don't ever want to hire any other coach other than him. This is my coach, right? Like I love this guy so much, right? If you make your goal say do that, or that can be one way, or another could be like, if you make your goal like, okay, this person is so far from change, right? That they haven't even understand this part, but once they get through that, I still got to get them to do this. Like, they're so far from change, and I'm excited about it because now it's a project. Like, if I can get him here, that's like a real challenge. That's what makes it fun, right? Things like that, right? So,
interesting.
Selflessly selfish.
Yeah.
Meaning not the task in terms of doing itself, but
I hear you.
The person that's cooking that grilled cheese is going to be happy because they're doing it for someone, that
Right.
eating it, and,
So, but because okay, I understand what you're saying, but because you have both, right? Because I think I would need both too. Like some clients who are like
yeah.
just like, oh my gosh, like this is from the get-go, feels good, like we're vibing, we're on the same page, we speak the same language, and then having some clients, it's gonna happen because there's a curve, right? So some clients who reach
But
out
it depends on the people. Like for me, I love problem solving more than like working with people.
Mm,
So for me, the reward is more like being able to do this project my way, or something like what you said about like, okay, these people are doing this, so how can I put in a process where I can get these people here? Or how if I wanted to scale what I'm doing here to 100 people, how can I get 100 people to, how can I create a framework that I can bring 100 people through that will have at least 50% of chance of having breakthrough? And then once you get to 50%, you're like, how can I get it to 60%? How can I get it to 75%? Right?
Yeah.
That's like, for me, those are fun because that's problem solving more than actually showing the breakthrough in person. But I also like that part too. But depending on who you are, I think you have to figure out, this is fun. I'm doing this for me and I'm doing this for them.
Yes. No, I agree. This is helpful because I think this is the direction I'm taking, because I have a client right now. I mean, I can give you examples, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. And like just looking at it, yeah, I could see what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's what I would benefit a lot from. to
and
not
I really
making it
think
so
you should
personal.
do the podcast. Like,
you don't think I should?
No, I think you really should.
Oh, you think I should?
Do that right away, because I feel like you're going to get so much content out of there.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
not only are you going to enjoy it, but you're going to get so much content out of there that you can just post on TikTok Reels or what, which is going to help you grow the brand. And the best way for you to attract the right people, the ones over here that are ready to change, are the ones that are just finding you through your content. Because the reason why, when you say that thing about masculinity and things like that, the reason why they're even, there's something like, everybody hates Andrew Tate right now, but I mean, you can't, what I say is there's no smoke where there's no fire, right? So the fact that he's so popular itself is showing that there's a demand for that.
Yeah.
The fact that it's showing that means there are enough males out there who agrees with him, right?
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Yeah, so we can't just ignore that, right? So what you need to do is you need to talk about what you feel is the truth. And then you're gonna attract all the people that are like, oh yeah, I feel that same way. And then once you're there already on board, because I'm like that too. I have followers. Not everybody, is on board with my methods, right? Some of them might be completely against it or something like that. They're not going to join. But I think I can make a huge difference for the people who are on board.
Dang. Yeah, no, this is fun. Yep. I have a lot of like what you're saying isn't like, okay, in cognitive psychology, there's like assimilation and accommodation. You're not like creating a lot of new neural connections. Like I'm already having, like the things that I've been thinking about, you're reinforcing. And so it just is affirming.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, that sounds good. And
I mean, that's, for me, that's everything. That's really? What every time I watch a Gary Vee video, because I just wanted to confirm something.
What?
Got it. Every time I watch a Gary Vee video, or every time I hire somebody for coaching or something like that.
Yes.
Ultimately, what I need is the confirmation.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I think, I have a few things, but this is the direction I think I've been heading. And it's just nice to hear, like, not making it as much about me or the selfish, like, because I can love what I'm doing and it can help someone, and then me helping them is probably the reward. Like I really feel that, like if I can get my client right now who is slow and he's resisting and he's like, I don't know if I want to continue. If I can get him to feel like this is still a good fit, like not because of the money, because this is really how I feel. Like I really want to help him. Like, even though that's where I am. I have a client like that right now. And so I'm like, I was authentic to him. I was like, hey, like I actually genuinely want to help you. And I think we can get there. Like, but you've said these things that like, let's see if we can make it work. And if we can get it to be more easeful, because that's going to help more with his transformation anyway. So yeah,
the way
affirming.
This is like not going to be another fun part. But if you really want to get into it, you know how like sometimes for you to get this person from here to here, like you can't be fully authentic. Meaning, let's say ego is stopping them from getting from here to here, and you need to help them control their ego just a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
Then what you have to do is you actually have to feed into their ego a little bit so that they'll get to see this.
Right.
And then, like, so all of these are just little puzzles.
Yeah. It's
but
like,
I'm really, really like looking forward to your podcast, man. Like,
oh, really? Cool. Okay.
I have a feeling it's going to be pretty deep.
Yeah, no, actually, so I'm trying out your, like, I never thought about it that way, but my tag is going to be like, let's take a deeper look. So I'm my content on social media and my podcast, like taking a deeper look at concepts that we've all, like masculinity. Let's take a deeper look at
I love that.
attachment. Okay. Do you think that's good? Okay.
Because not everything, because at the end of the day, that I always say that too. When I say I never thought of it that way, I'm not trying to debunk it to the opposite. What I'm trying to see is I'm trying to show them that that's not always the case. Yes, that's true, but it's not always the case. There's always two sides to every story. There's two sides to every coin. Yeah. So when you say like, let's take a deeper look, what you're saying is I'm not saying this or I'm not saying this. I'm just saying let's take a deeper look. You know what I mean? That's what I love, because I feel like that's what's not being done enough right now.
Yeah.
And the problem that you're talking about with younger males, especially like the gamers, that
IT
that
guys,
feel emasculated.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that has to do with that they think it's this or this. They haven't really took a deeper look at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So I love that. Yeah.
Okay. And don't worry about the business aspect, because it's like coaching. I have to like speak to my clients' problems and this and that. Like, just, like,
it sounds like for me, the first thing you need to do is bring that spark back.
Bring the spark back. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because like that fire, when I work with entrepreneurs and business owners that has that fire, it's crazy. It's like boom, like they call me back right away. I send an invoice, like everything just moves, because they're impatient. They just want to get this done quickly, right? Like, so there's a different energy about it that moves the ball along. Whereas without that fire, without the energy, like things just like takes like a flow.
Right.
And speed is important. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. This was a pretty long episode. Thank you, both of you, Karen and Samuel, for coming on and sharing so vulnerably. Okay, everyone. Tomorrow, this is airing on Friday. So yeah, next week, Friday, I'll see you guys again. Until then, cheers.